One of the things of the last few decades in science has been the remarkable way that we've started to understand not just what the universe is all about, but where it comes from. In recent years, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is a telescope in orbit, the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, has started to produce the most wonderful pictures. You might have seen some of them on NASA's website. And it shows pictures of galaxies. Galaxies are collections of stars, about 100 billion stars in each galaxy, each as large as our own sun. And how many galaxies are there in the universe? Well, it's about 100 billion. So how many stars are there in the universe in total? Well, it's quite an easy thing to do. You multiply 100 billion stars in each of 100 billion galaxies, and the answer is a lot. Something like 10 followed by 22 zeros. It's roughly the grains of sand on the beaches of the world. And some of these pictures show us galaxies where the light started off 13.5 billion years ago to reach us. We talk about them as being 13.5 billion light years away. Now, the light from the sun, which occasionally reaches Durham, where I live in the United Kingdom, takes about 8 minutes to travel from the sun to the Earth. The light from some of the galaxies that James Webb and Hubble has been looking at has taken 13.5 billion years to reach us. So you won't be surprised if I say the universe is a pretty big place. And you might say that's not terribly profound, but it's not trivial just how big the universe is. Particularly when we say that some 13.8 billion years ago, there was 100 billion stars in 100 billion galaxies. The whole lot of it was small enough to fit through the eye of a needle. At that point, it began to expand rapidly in what's nicknamed the Big Bang. The Big Bang was a nickname given to it by a physicist called Fred Hoyle, who didn't really like this theory, and so he nicknamed it the Big Bang, but the nickname has stuck. And what we can do with our current laws of physics is describe what the universe was like pretty well as we go back in time. So we're here and we're 13.8 billion years old. I feel that more than others at times. And we can go back and we can say what the universe was like when it was only 1 million years old. That's a big jump from 13.8 billion. In fact, we can describe what the universe was like when it was only 1 second old. And if that's insufficient, our current laws of physics work right back to 10 to the minus 43 of a second. Now that's a mathematical way of writing 1 divided by 10 followed by 42 zeroths of a second. That's a very small fraction of a second. But at that point, our current laws of physics break down, and it's really frustrating to scientists. It's as if you've watched the whole of a movie, and just before the very ending, the cinema's fire alarm goes off and you have to rush out, and you never see the really interesting bit right at the end. We can understand the universe as we go back in time, but just before we get to the very first moment, our current laws of physics break down. And the reason for that is that the two great laws of physics discovered in the 20th century, something called quantum theory and general relativity, don't fit together. Now, hold on, one or two of you might say, how do you know that that's true? After all, where were you 13.8 billion years ago? I know you're old, but you weren't that old right at the beginning of the universe. Well, of course, when it comes to cosmology, it's a bit like a detective story. When Miss Marple, my favourite detective, appears on the scene of a crime, she hasn't seen the crime happen. What she does is look at clues or various pieces of evidence to reconstruct what actually happened. And that's what cosmologists like myself do. We look at various clues or pieces of evidence to reconstruct what our best model of the universe was. And those pieces of evidence were about the redshift of galaxies, the fact that galaxies are moving away from us, so they must have been all together at some point. A form of radiation called the microwave background radiation that pervades the whole of space, which produced in the Big Bang, and the amount of helium in the universe. We don't need to go into those in detail, enough to say that they are pretty good evidence. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that the Big Bang is proved. Science at this level, big science, doesn't proceed like that. We construct our best model to explain the evidence. But it's still frustrating, the fact that our laws of physics break down at 10 to the minus 43 of a second. At that point, the universe is very small and very hot. It begins to expand rapidly. As it expands, it cools. After 10 to the minus 35 of a second, quarks appear in the universe. They're the building blocks of things called protons and neutrons, which build atoms. Between 1 second and 1,000 seconds, when the universe is that old, hydrogen and helium appear in the universe. And then to cut short a very long story, the hydrogen forms these big clouds of gas, and you get stars and galaxies coming out of it. Now, this is a wonderful story. I'm really excited by it. But it is frustrating when our laws of physics break down. And a number of years ago, Robert Jastrow, a NASA astrophysicist, wrote a book in which he wrote this. He said, "For the scientist who has lived by faith and the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. They've scaled the mountains of ignorance. They're about to conquer the highest peak. And as they pull themselves over the final rock, they're greeted by a band of theologians who've been sitting there for centuries. Now, is this the place where we find God? Our laws of physics break down, and so do we put God into that gap." Well, in the next lecture, what we'll see is that that's not a very good argument for the existence of God.